greatest saviors of the Jews during the Holocaust was unheard of. His achievements only known to those they directly affected. His name was Oskar Schindler. His name was introduced to the world with a novel from the early 80s and immortalized by a film almost a decade later. Oskar's story still continues to influence people to this day, reminding the world that heroism is still possible even from unlikely people. Driven by blood, Oskar Schindler arrived on Earth in what is now the Czech Republic. Growing up, he possessed great charisma, but cared little for academics. After a brief 10 years in higher education, he pursued various ventures, such as working for his father's business and a brief stint in the Czech military. As a young man, Oskar acquired a taste for luxury and pleasure, a trait that would follow him the rest of his life. During Hitler's seemingly unstoppable rise to power, Schindler joined a local unofficial Nazi allied group and began collecting intelligence, sending it forward to the German army. Eventually, when the Third Reich annexed Czechoslovakia, he joined the real Nazi party. Okay, I know what you're thinking. He doesn't really sound like a hero. Joined the Nazis, a bit of a rough and wild young man, but hear me out. It gets better. Mr. Schindler, in 1933, he moved to Krakow, Poland, and he became another war profiteer looking for financial benefit in the hellish circumstances of the brewing Second World War. He appropriated an enamelware factory that was formerly owned by a Jew. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, only 7 Jews were working at his factory 3 months into business. Eventually, around half of his employees were Jewish. At the time of the surge in Jewish employment in this factory, at the enamelware factory, Jews were cheap labor as their paychecks were handed directly to the government. Along with the obvious sanctioned financial benefits, the Jewish Virtual Library claims a small number of affluent Jews invested in the factory in exchange for protection and a safe haven for Jews. At a time when the crushing anti-Semitic government reigned supreme, this was an oasis, a place where they could work and be safe. Around this time, the Russian army was impending from the east, and the government wanted to shut his factory down. What he did was, he compiled a name of 1,100 Jews that he claimed were essential to the war effort. He relocated them to a factory closer to Czechoslovakia by his hometown, and he opened up another factory. Instead of producing kitchenware, he produced bullets. Not a single bullet that came out of his factory worked. He was deliberately sabotaging the German war effort. All the while, the inmates had plenty of food and decent conditions. All out of Oskar's pocket. He paid for everything. How did he accomplish this without so much as a raised eyebrow from the higher-ups in the government? Bribery. Lots of them, actually. That's how he employed the Jews in the first place. Remember his expensive tastes? Schindler would make connections in the black market and gift illicit alcohol to officers who began sniffing around his operation. While this shady behavior was present from the very beginning, without it, 1,100 innocent lives would have been condemned to radically inhumane conditions, and more likely than not, death. The war ended without any deaths in the ranks of Schindler's Jews. After the war, he fell into the same routine of wandering around and experimenting with ill-fated business prospects. Oskar Schindler died destitute and alone in 1974. Named Righteous Among the Nations, a title distributed by the State of Israel to honor men and women who played key roles in saving Jews from the horrors of the Holocaust, Schindler's body was transferred to a Catholic cemetery on Mount Zion in Israel. Here was a man whose opportunity for greatness was thrust upon him out of a less than ideal situation. He was a less than ideal man. His corruption, hedonism, and dishonesty, while deep running, are left by the wayside in the grand scheme of things, considering the sheer amount of lives he saved. That's 1,100 people, not including children and grandchildren yet to come. The workers themselves affirmed that it was exclusively due to his efforts that they were able to witness the end of the war in the letter written by them. Schindler himself downplayed his own achievements, stating that if you saw a dog going to be crushed under a car, wouldn't you help him?